Good day, everyone. I'm back. I've been gone for a while. I've got some pretty good excuses. Well, I had a big knee surgery, and I just got back on the motorcycle, so I thought I'd just put together a little video to show you some of the new gear I've got. But before I do, I just want to do a quick follow-up on my skid plate, since I had a YouTuber ask me about it to do like a little follow-up review. Um, you know, I did manage to get it off-road like in the fall of last year, and it seemed to hold up pretty well. Basically going on and off some logging roads and some moto trails up in the hills there. And what I did notice is it was quite helpful and confidence inspiring going in and out of like drainage ditches dug across roads. And there seemed to be a lot that I was going through. So basically you're, sending it down into the ditch and just loading up the suspension and then coming back out. And there were some pretty big size like rocks in some of these ditches. And the skid plate took a little bit of damage. You can see like right here and right here. And I don't know if I can actually get it in the camera view or if you can see it. But there's a slight bend around this area. If that was a rock or the ground or something, that might have actually hit the water pump and caused some damage. I honestly don't really care if the skid plate is bent a little bit. I guess it's doing its job. It just seemed to be on that side just a little bit tweaked. So, I think some of the composite skid plates, like, they're probably not going to bend. They're going to absorb that shock a little bit better. But, maybe they're not as durable otherwise. I honestly couldn't tell you. So that's just the follow-up on the Emperor Racing. It used to be called Scorpion. Emperor Racing skid plate for the KLX 250. But basically, my new gear that I've just got is these mirrors. They're by Doubletake, and they use the RAM mounting system. It's pretty simple. You just unscrew your factory mirrors, and you screw in a RAM ball into where your factory mirror would be placed, and then you can choose whatever length of RAM mounting arm to attach a mirror to. And they've got a few different types, but these are like the dual sport type mirror. So I picked a 3-inch for this side and a 2-inch for this side because the mirror mounting locations on this bike, this one's a little further in from the end of the handlebar than this one. So basically I was using a different type of mirror that I enjoyed in concept, not in practice. And it was the Power Mad mirror that was designed to attach to these Power Mad guards. And it's nice because you could it would attach to the end of the guard and you could fold it down or fold it up or whatever. Pretty out of the way, but it was really difficult to see. I mean, you got this tiny little convex mirror. It was great for, seeing people in your blind spot, but it wasn't very good for seeing people coming up behind you. And one of the biggest fears I have riding on the streets on a dual sport bike is getting rear-ended, right? Somebody just texting and driving and not seeing you come up behind them. So I'm sitting in this field right now and, looking at this. There's a old truck for sale over behind me, and I can see it quite clearly in this mirror. Now, if I put this little guy in the same spot, I mean, I almost can't even see it, right? It just blends in with the background. So that truck is pretty far away, right? So this mirror is certainly a lot more visible. It's It's almost the exact same size as the factory mirrors for this bike, but it's much, much better because you can take this mirror and fold it however you want. You can fold it out of the way or whatever when you're off-roading. Heck, you could completely remove it without the need for any kind of tool. It's just like the ram mounts, which are pretty simple. They're pretty solid. The only weak spot, obviously, is like where they thread in. In the past, I've used, even just stock mirrors on the highway. If they're not tightened up enough, where they're threaded in on the left side, the wind blows against it and actually unscrews the mirror from the base. So I might need to come back and put like a little bit of Loctite in this one to keep it from moving around. And while I was thinking about that, actually, I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea for motorcycle companies to put a reverse thread on this mirror? And then that way the wind wouldn't push it in such a way that it would come undone while you're riding. Just a thought that I had. Maybe maybe some people will pick that up and start designing into their bikes. I don't know. So I'm just going to take these mirrors for a little bit of a ride and show you how they do on the road. I'm really liking these so far. I'm going on a kind of a twisty back road here that's a little bit bumpy, doing about 60, and they seem to be doing pretty well. They're not too buzzy and they don't vibrate too much. They are pretty solid. They're adjustable, on the fly without tools, and they can fold out of the way, right? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna try this like on the fly adjustment, see if I can do this here. Just loosen this guy off just enough. Oh, there we go. Yep, perfect. So, if you bump your mirror when you're riding or something like that, you can easily just tighten that up. You don't need to pull out the 14 millimeter wrench. So again, I am quite happy with this setup. So while I'm out on this ride today, I might as well give you a little bit of info as to what happened to my knee. 2005, I was 20 years old and I had a really bad mountain bike wipeout where I completely tore the PCL in my right knee. That's the posterior cruciate ligament. Basically, it's sort of the opposite of the ACL, and it's a pretty rare injury that maybe like 20% PCL versus 80% of ACL injuries. And anyways, it was completely torn, and at the time the surgeon that I saw said yep, your PCL is torn, have a nice life, we're not going to do anything about it. And I was like, what? As a 20-year-old, you're like, oh my god, I've got a bum knee now and I'm only 20. But you learn to live with it, and turns out you can actually function quite well without that ligament present in your knee. The way that your quad muscles work is they sort of pull everything into place. So as time went on, I always had the concern that one day this knee is going to start getting arthritis because of the wobbly movement that it had because of the missing ligament. And I just happened to be seeing a surgeon for a totally separate issue with my other knee, a pretty minor thing. And he asked me about my right knee, and I told him, well, I crashed my mountain bike in 2005, tore my PCL, and here I am, who cares, right? Why do you want to know? And he said, well, I can fix that for you. And I was like, get out. Really? And I just lucked out and happened to get in touch with the one of the few people who's actually trained and done a residency on PCL repairs. So about a year and a half went by, and then I finally got a surgery date, and that was in December 20th, 2018. So it's been, I guess, about 7 months since my surgery, and it's healing up quite well. Basically what they did was they harvested like some of my hamstring tendons. They basically like peel off strips, almost like cheese strings, and they take like a strip, I don't know, about yay long, and they fold it together. They like fold it down into like a little band, and then they use that as the new ligament, and then it sort of gets attached with buttons. And the way I understand it is they will like drill through your bones, you know, in your knee, and put this band through each hole, and then on the outside they'll tie it to a button. Yeah, so that was part of it, and the other part of the surgery was the LCL, and it was actually not really diagnosed at the time that I injured it. The LCL is part of what's called the posterolateral corner, so it's all on like this side of the knee, and so I got that fixed with cadaver tissue. So something that somebody doesn't need anymore. I'm getting it now as you know, as part of my new ligament. Now that ligament wasn't completely torn. I guess it was stretched out a bit, but I've got tissue from some dead guy, or dead girl, or animal, or, I don't know. Something dead is in my knee, so I'm just waiting for Halloween for my leg to start kicking people and, you know, getting upset. Yeah, so a month on crutches after the surgery, which was quite the task until you start getting used to it. And during that time, my muscles atrophied in my right leg, so it looked like I had... come on, green light, go. Hey, that's what happens when you play with your phone while you're driving. Anyways, where was I? So, on crutches for a month. My muscles atrophied in my right leg. So my leg shrunk, and then also my left leg like grew considerably because I was only using that and, like, you know, balancing and hobbling around on crutches. So it looked like I had, you know, some like wrestler's leg on this side and some like really skinny malnourished person's leg on the right side. But they're leveling out now. They're pretty close to being the same again. After the crutches, I was wearing a brace for a couple months, and then once the brace came off, then I started, you know, slowly going back to work, like doing light duties. And I think I was basically resuming full duties back at my job after about 5 months. And yeah, so I can function. I can pretty much do everything. You know, some things I still have a little bit of difficulty with, like higher impact stuff. It's still kind of sore, like, you know, when the tendons of the in front of the knee, around the kneecap, when they get loaded up. So that'll come with time. Everything will come with time. I mean, I think at the year mark, I'll be good as gold. So that's my story for my knee surgery, and yeah, welcoming myself back to riding and hopefully more videos. So enjoy your summer, and we'll talk to you soon.